Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Point with Mike and Ray. Ray is running a little bit late, but he'll be here. He'll be here very shortly. We have a great show for you tonight. We have very happy to bring in Dr. Harold Fernandez, MD. We're going to ask him a whole bunch of questions. He has a couple books out. Very interesting. I just spoke with him a couple minutes before the show, and I have a million questions already. So without further ado, let's bring him in. Dr. Fernandez, how are you?
I'm doing fine. Thanks, Mike. Thanks for the invitation. And it's good to be here speaking with you and with Ray whenever he shows up.
Yeah, he's run a little late. He should be about 2 to 3 minutes late, but knowing Ray, that's about 7 to 8 minutes late. So yeah, we talked briefly before we went on, and it's very interesting because I asked you how this pandemic and COVID affects your daily life, and you were saying about how hospitals became intensive care units, and that's so baffling to me. How like in just what was it, a month or so it happened, the pandemic?
Yeah, well, when the pandemic first started in 2020, those first 3 months, probably March, April, and May, we basically stopped doing surgery. I'm a heart surgeon,
Right.
so every day I get to do open heart surgery. But during those 3 months, we stopped doing open heart surgery, and we became intensive care unit physicians, taking shifts, taking care of basically only COVID patients. So
Right.
our unit at North Shore University Hospital, which is a very large unit where we take care of our post-op patients, became all filled with COVID patients. And that's what we did for several months, take care of the sickest patients that you could ever imagine, patients that were clinging to life just by a thread. Many of them were on the artificial lung machine that you probably heard about, ECMO.
Right.
And unfortunately, given that we had no other therapeutics, no vaccine, probably somewhere between 80 and 90% of the patients that were admitted to the unit never made it. So It was very stressful. It was very sad. Um, I learned a lot, but one of the things I really learned was to appreciate every moment, appreciate the work that is done by the nurses, by all these other people in the hospital that basically participated in the care of these patients.
Right. And I always say, Dr. Fernandez, that, you see these sports figures making these millions and millions of dollars. I always say the doctors, nurses, the people that work with the public every day, that deal with, all of these things. You guys should be making that money, and it's a different breed of people, and we're very thankful to you and everybody that, went to that it was you were pretty much on the front line, and a lot of people are very grateful for what you did. So I
Yeah,
see
thank
I see Ray just joined us, so let's try to bring Ray in real quick.
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay. Hey, Ray.
I'm so sorry, Mike. I'm so sorry, Doc. How are you?
That's okay, Ray. I'm doing fine. It's good to have you. So
It's great to have you. And I have to say, Mike, thanks for holding down the fort. I apologize. I'm on this work trip in Pennsylvania, and I just got a little bit delayed on this thing. But thank you so much, Doc, for joining us tonight.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. And I'm happy to share some of my thoughts on different issues with you guys and with your audience.
I was telling my co-host and my friend Mike that I've been a big fan of yours, Doc, for a long time. I haven't met you in person yet, but just from seeing your presence on Facebook, such a highly accomplished doctor, surgeon, an author, somebody whose posts I pay very, very close attention to. So yeah, if you don't mind sharing with our audience, please tell us what you do and where you're working at and the kind of important stuff that you're doing every day.
So my work in the hospital is as a heart surgeon. So I have the opportunity every day to literally get into the chests of my patients and fix their hearts, fix them so that they can go back to their families, to their communities, to their jobs. Patients that have problems with blockages in the coronary arteries or valves that are not working. And that's what I do. Is a very sort of a specialized field. So I take care of all the patients that can be helped with either medication or prevention or stents, and they end up needing requiring open heart surgery. And I work out of both North Shore University Hospital and South Shore University Hospital.
Amazing. And Doc, you're from, where'd you come from originally, and how'd you get to where you are?
Yeah, so I'm originally from South America, from Colombia. I grew up in a small town right in the center of Medellin. Medellin is actually a beautiful city. It's called the city of the eternal spring because the weather is the same all year round. So you don't have air conditioners, you don't have heaters because the weather is just very pleasant the entire year. And it's a valley, so it's surrounded by these huge mountains. So at night, you see all these little towns going up into the mountains, and it almost looks like you're looking at the sky from all the little lights that you see from all the little towns. But it's also a place that, as I'm sure you're aware, has been at the center stage of a conflict between the drug traffickers, particularly Pablo Escobar when he was alive in the government. And I sort of grew up in the middle of all that conflict, and because of that, my parents came to America. They were here for several years working as undocumented immigrants. And I stayed behind with my abuelitas, with my grandmothers, for several years. And my parents always planned to go back, but then they loved America. One of the quotes I like to tell people is that people that are born here love America, immigrants adore America. And my parents fell in love, and they wanted us to come here and be able to sort of participate in the opportunities that this country has for immigrants. And the only problem was that we couldn't come through the legal way. We couldn't sort of, I know people often talk about people getting on a line and waiting for a chance, but that's is impossible. That only happens to the people that have a lot of money. So we came, me at the age of 13 and my brother at the age of 11, came on a boat that crossed through from an island in the Bahamas called Bimini to the coast of Miami. And from there, we caught a flight that then brought us from Miami to New Jersey, where we joined our parents.
Wow. Yeah, right. I was telling Dr. Fernandez, I didn't really know much about him except for the little his book, the outline of his book, and the story is incredible. It's an incredible story, and just 13 years old. Did you know any English, Dr. Fernandez, or
Zero English? In fact,
zero English?
When I go to the schools and I give talks, I always sort of remember that first day, just walking into an American school and hearing that intercom and this language that I didn't understand at all, and how scary that was. One of the things I try to remind the kids over here when I speak to them is about how wonderful our schools are, and how we have so many teachers that just dedicate their life to young kids and to making their lives better, and that they should just be very grateful that we have that opportunity here in the United States.
Right. Yeah. Right. I was telling Dr. Fernandez before you came on that, you hear about these sports people making, $35 million a year. And these doctors and nurses and everybody on the front lines, they should be making that kind of money, not those sports people,
Yeah, absolutely. And Dr. Fernandez, as I said earlier, Mike, is somebody who I pay very careful attention to what he says. And it's very popular these days to make fun of Facebook and to talk about how bad Facebook is. But if there was no Facebook, I'm not sure when I would have the opportunity to meet him. And just hearing him comment and hearing his thoughts on things. Now, Doc, there's so many things I want to ask you about, but let me ask you this. You're on the front lines of heart surgery, and we do have an epidemic in this country, or pandemic going on in this country, but you also talk a lot about the epidemic of diet in this country, and I pay careful attention to what you talk about. You advocate for everybody to go plant-based where possible. Is that something that you can share some stuff, some light
That's
on?
right. So about 5 years ago, uh, I was asked to write an article for a magazine called MD Magazine. I'm the editor-in-chief of that magazine, about a healthy diet. And I had never really looked into it that much. I can tell you that my diet at that time, and the diet that I recommended to all my patients was, a diet with everything in moderation, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And I came upon some of the work of a physician at the Cleveland Clinic called Caldwell Esselstyn, and another one at Cornell University, T. Colin Campbell. And both of these doctors have discovered that a nutrition which is based on whole food, plant-based nutrition, low in oils, can actually reverse blockages. When I talked about some of the work that I do fixing the coronary arteries, these are these tiny vessels that are on the surface of the heart. They're called coronary arteries because they crown the heart, and they're tiny. In fact, when we work on them, we have to wear special loops so that we can see them. So you can imagine when plaque builds up in these tiny little vessels, that's basically what causes a heart attack. And if you would ask 100 physicians whether that plaque can be reversed, probably 98 physicians will tell you that you can reverse that plaque. And I would be one of them, before 5 years ago. And then I saw some of their work, and I realized that there's significant evidence out there that shows that that plaque can actually be reversed with this kind of nutrition. And given that this is something so close to me, because it's what I do every day, I began to look more and more into it. And now I'm convinced that that plaque can be reversed with nutrition. And it's not, there's a lot of other benefits of a whole food plant-based nutrition, but that is the one that I can tell you 100% that I believe in and that I'm very passionate about.
Doc and Mike, let me just say something to you, Mike. Everyone has an opinion when it comes to diet.
That's right.
And if you Google anything you want, if you want to Google the peanut butter diet, you'll find something where someone says they lost 100 pounds. But what we have tonight, and it's a true honor to have Dr. Fernandez on, what we have is not just a doctor, but an actual heart surgeon who deals with these clogged arteries every single day and is saving lives and giving us advice based on that, that background and that experience. So I think it's something that we all need to pay attention to. Now, Doc, is it possible? Do you recommend people just to go cold turkey and go plant-based tomorrow, or do you think that it's okay to kind of gradually change your diet? Or what are your thoughts on how quickly we need to make these changes?
So I'll tell you exactly what I tell my patients now. In the past, like I said before, I used to tell my patients about a diet with everything in moderation. So I sort of make it graphical. Let me see if I can do it here. So I tell them, if you have this diet, everything in moderation, this is what causes those blockages in the coronary arteries. Everything in moderation. And then I tell them there's a perfect diet, which is a whole food plant-based nutrition. And I tell them, you don't have to be here. You could be, 75% there, and that's going to help you. And the evidence shows that, because it's not easy to change right away. In fact, I tell people that, in general, people are not going to change because of the environment. People are not going to change because of ethics. People are not even going to change because of their health. People are going to change when it becomes easy to do, when you have different alternatives, when you can go to the supermarket and find all these healthy foods everywhere, where you don't have commercials left and right telling you to drink milk every day, or to eat beef because it's a good source of protein. So it's going to take a long time to change. But I think if people begin to do it little by little, which was my case, I began to do it gradually. Until now, I'm a fanatic. But when I first started, it was little by little, small, tiny little changes. And
Doctor,
that's how it happened in my life.
Doctor, do genetics play a role in it? Like, so say if, your family members have like small vessels or things like that, is nutrition the only way? Because we spoke before about like breathing and exercising and things like that. Will those help as well, the heart health?
Yeah, so genetics plays a big role. And in fact, there are multiple factors. Genetics, whether your parents had heart disease, smoking, cholesterol, high blood pressure, diabetes. So there are multiple factors. But there's a saying in genetics that genes are not your destiny. It's almost like if you think about a gun, it's like loading up the gun with a bullet, but it's other stuff that pulls the trigger. And the same thing is true about genetics. Genetics can give you a predisposition to coronary artery disease, but if on top of that you have a bad diet, then it can make it much worse.
Right.
So about Doc, you know more than I do about this. I mean, you remember several months ago, I was watching on Facebook, and Dr. Fernandez did this challenge where he was running. Listen, you'll tell. Was it 4 miles every 12 hours? And he'll share about it, but I'll tell you, I'm watching on Facebook, and I never felt lazier in my life because I was watching, and then literally I'd fall asleep in 4 hours. He was running outside in the cold and the heat, whatever. 4 hours later, I'd wake up, and he's running again. What was that challenge that you did, Doc?
Yeah, it was a challenge by. It started by this guy named David Goggins, who's someone that I follow closely. He wrote a book, Can't Hurt Me, which is a wonderful book. The guy was able to change his life around, and he had this challenge called 4 by 4 by 48. So every 4 hours, you will run 4 miles. And I did it. I had a few of my friends come and join me each 4 hours. And every 4 hours, we would go out and run 4 miles. And it was actually more difficult than I thought because, I run about 6 miles every day. I do it at 4:30 in the morning. So I thought that it wasn't going to be a big deal, but it was. And there were two things that I underestimated. One was the ability to get sleep in between the 4-hour periods. And the other one was the ability to eat and stay well energized, because it's very hard to sort of eat and then go again and run. So it was very difficult.
Yeah, Ray, I don't know if this is in line with Dr. Fernandez, but I have an aunt. When she was 60 years old, she started walking 2 miles a day. Yeah. Now she's 82. We don't know where the hell she is.
Wow, that's amazing. That's great. And it shows that it doesn't matter how old you are, you can always make changes in your life.
Sure.
In fact, one of the stories I share with the kids when I go to the schools is the story of this lady, Diane Nayat, who's the lady who did the swim from Cuba to Florida.
Oh, and, yep.
And she did it not when she was 30 years old, not when she was 40. She did it when she was 65 years old.
I remember that.
She did it not on her first attempt, not on her second attempt. She did it on her 5th attempt. So it really shows how, you're never too old to make little changes. And it happens also in nutrition. The new mayor of New York City was diagnosed with diabetes, and he already had evidence of losing his sight. And he had something called peripheral neuropathy from type 2 diabetes. And he was able to change, and now he's very healthy. And his mom, who was 85 years old, also made the changes. So you can change at any time, and you can see the benefits at any time.
I don't want to put words in your mouth, Doc, but would you say that diabetes maybe is as big as a pandemic or as big of an issue as even COVID? Or I don't want to put words in your mouth. Diabetes is a big problem in this country, though, right? And a lot of it's based on nutrition.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. Type 2 diabetes is one of those chronic conditions as obesity, high blood pressure, and dementia. Now for people that get to 85 years old, there's almost a 50% incidence of serious dementia, and it's all related to what we eat. And so is diabetes. And there's evidence, if you think about diabetes, for example, type 2 diabetes, and I know this because I see it in the faces of my patients. When you tell them that they have to be on a medication for the rest of their lives, whether it's to treat blood pressure or to treat diabetes, it's not something they want to hear. And it's very sad, because we don't attempt to cure diabetes. We manage it. We manage it with medication. When the medication doesn't work, then we put them on insulin. And it's just a progressive disease that just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. But we never sort of think about going to the root cause. And the root cause is what you eat. And now there's a lot of evidence that it's not really those carbohydrates that people talk about, but it's animal fat that gets into the inside of the liver cells, and it doesn't allow for the insulin to work. And until you reverse that fat inside the muscle cells and inside the liver cells, insulin is not going to work.
Yeah, that's interesting, because you usually think, sugar and carbs and everything like that, add to make your A1C high, but you don't think of, the insulin stopping working for other reasons than that.
Yeah, from animal fat. And the evidence right now is from really powerful MRI scans that can see almost inside the muscle cell and see that there's animal adipose tissue, they call it intramyocellular lipids that prevent the insulin molecule from doing its work.
Wow.
So much of like what I was saying before, Mike and Doc, is so much of everyone has an opinion on this stuff. But who better would you want to hear from than the guy who actually fixes the problem? I mean, he's on the front lines and he's fixing this. I mean, he probably has a vested interest in saying the opposite, but here he is trying to tell us exactly what's right. So I really appreciate it. Listen, Doc, we have to ask you this because it's our job to ask you in the light of the times we live in. What do you make of COVID? Are we handling COVID correctly? Are we being too cautious? Are we being too whatever? Are we being too concerned about it? What are your feelings on where we are with COVID right now?
I think COVID, since the time it started, has been a condition where we have attempted to treat it without having all the answers. And it's really true of almost everything we do in medicine. That's why people say that medicine is an art, it's not a science. And then a lot of the things that get done sort of get magnified just because of social media and other sort of factors. I think we're moving in the right direction. I definitely think that the vaccines have helped tremendously. And the way I would put it right now, and this is not really coming from me, this is coming from some of my friends who are infectious disease specialists, is that if you are vaccinated, completely vaccinated, and you get COVID, it's almost like having a bad flu. If you're vaccinated and you have the booster, it's almost like getting a cold. And if you're not vaccinated at all, then it can be really bad. And really bad means that you could die. Still 85%, 80-85% of people can get COVID and not have any symptoms at all. But there's a small percentage of people that can die from COVID.
Yeah. Doc, someone just asked a question. What is the title of your book? I have.
Can we have that graphic?
Yeah, I have. Well, actually, there's another one, Ray. There's this one here that we looked at before, undocumented. This one is really interesting. Just reading the outline of it, and also Doc told me about another one here called "A Boy and a Book: Overcoming Obstacles Through the Magic of Reading." Which
I didn't know this. I knew about the first one. Wow.
Yeah, that one is one that I published about a year ago. I finished it during the pandemic, and it was really for a younger audience, and it really concentrated on how important an education has been to me in general, and really to tell kids that if you want to be a soccer player, you spend all your time with a soccer ball. If you want to be a basketball player, you spend all your time with the basketball. If you want to change your life and be a doctor or a lawyer or anything else, you get an education and you spend your time with books. And it wasn't a secret, it shouldn't be a secret to anybody, but my performance, whether it was at Princeton or at Harvard, was because I spent all my time with books. When they would ask me to read a book once, I wouldn't read a book once. I would read a book 3 times, 4 times, as many times as I needed to make sure that I knew the book inside out. So that second book is about that.
Listen, we have a very Doc, we have a very balanced show when it comes to politics. But if I can just say something politically for a moment, I hope people consider, when we talk about the complex issues involving immigration, and they are complex. And next week we're going to be doing a show about some issues involving immigration as well. But when people think about undocumented immigrants, how many lives has Dr. Fernandez saved? How many lives has he saved? How many lives does he save on a daily basis? So when you think about undocumented and you use that word in a way that's supposed to be negative, look at this guy that we have as a guest. We're honored to have as a guest. That's my own personal, political opinion. But we need to change the way we think about things. I mean, this is a superstar, and it's an honor, an absolute honor to have you on the show, Doc. And I don't know what else we can. Mike, we have those images we could share one more time, maybe.
Yeah. So this the first one, and if there are any more, you could tell me. But this is undocumented: my journey to Princeton and Harvard, and life as a heart surgeon, and a boy and a book, overcoming obstacles through the magic of reading. And I agree with you, Ray. He had everything against him. He didn't even speak a word of English, and yet, 40, less than 40 years later, look where he is. It's incredible. It's a great story.
I can't tell you, Mike, how happy I am to have him on the show tonight, and to continue to read his posts and stuff. And I knew it from the first time I read his profile. I'm like, wow, this is an interesting guy. And
one of the chapters in that book, Undocumented, is titled American Compassion, which, in the whole debate about immigration, I think we've lost this concept of thinking about immigrants as human beings, and just, we're beginning to see just almost that they're a burden to society. But, if you look at it from multiple aspects, and forget about, me as a heart surgeon, but about all the many people that contribute, whether it's working in the restaurants, whether it's taking care of kids in houses, whether it's working in the farms of America, but they make a positive contribution. When I had my problem, I wrote letters to Bill Bradley, who was a Democratic senator of New Jersey. I wrote letters to Kane, who was a Republican governor of New Jersey. And I wrote a letter to Ronald Reagan, who was a Republican president of the United States. And they all wrote me letters of support. Now the debate has become so one-sided that if I was doing that today, I would almost be afraid to write a letter to some people. So I think that it's a difficult debate, it's a difficult problem, but America is wonderful, and we should be able to find solutions that keep all the sides at the table, and look at all the needs that each one has.
Yeah, and it sounds like everything that's going on today. It's about the money, and at the border, and money. But Doc, you came over and you didn't take one dime from this country. You came over and you did it all on your own. So that's another a testament to how incredible your story is.
Well, I did take money. I mean, obviously, I went to Princeton on a scholarship, and to Harvard on a scholarship also.
Right.
And,
well, no, I'm just saying, just getting to where you got.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
it's funny because now I have my kids going to schools, and I'm just so happy every time I have to pay the bill, because, again, America is just such an incredible country with so many opportunities, that if you want to go to school, if you want to study, you'll find a way. I mean, people will find a way to make sure that you're able to get an education.
All right.
Doc, it's our it's not even, you know, we're starting this thing where we're doing Long Islander of the Week, and you're our very first Long Islander of the Week.
Oh,
You're
that's
probably you're probably Long Islander of the year, of the decade, whatever you want. But in our show, in our little world, we're very proud to call you Long Islander of the Week. And
The first Long Islander of the Week award. If Doc, if we had stuff to give you, we'd give it to you. You know,
maybe we can mail him a T-shirt or something, Mike.
sure, you know, just let us know where to mail you a T-shirt and what size you are.
absolutely, yeah. I'll definitely let you know. You know, it's funny. One of the things when I speak to kids and I tell them about, you know, the fact that when I first got here, there were so many obstacles and challenges and stuff. And one of the things that I did to change my life around was to get a job. And that job was delivering the newspaper. And I had to convince my dad that this was a good idea and that I wasn't going to forget about school and stuff. But I was telling him, when I decided that I was going to deliver the newspaper, I decided that I was going to be the best newspaper delivery boy in America. That no one was going to be better than me delivering the newspaper. And I worked really hard at it. And after about a year, I was selected as the newspaper carrier of the month. And it was really cool because my name came out on the paper with a little picture, and my parents were really proud. My mom cut out the little paper article and put it in her purse, and she would show it to everyone, even people she didn't know in the street. She would stop them and show them, look, newspaper carrier of the month. But it really shows how, you know, you can begin to change your life around with tiny little things that you can do, and tiny little sort of acts of progress, and just feeling good about yourself about tiny little things.
Wow, Ray, that blows our award away, you know. But see, here's a to the point with Mike and Ray T-shirts. So
I love it.
Yeah, pick a color and size and just let us know.
And thank you so much, Doc. And Mike will tell you, I've been talking about this for a few weeks now, saying we got to get this guy on. He's amazing. And you know, sometimes you're in the presence of greatness. And I know we are tonight. And thank you very much, Doc, for everything you do. Thank you for gracing us with your appearance here tonight with us. We really appreciate it. Sorry for being late, and hope to talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks, Ray. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Doc.
Appreciate it.
Take care. Thanks again.
Thank you. What an amazing guy. What an amazing guy.
Incredible. And just when he was saying about a couple minutes before you got on, Ray, how they had to pretty much retool, you know, the hospitals to you know, work with COVID, and it's amazing. It's mind blowing. It's mind blowing. But you know what? I wanted to say, so it sounds like there's hope, you know, that there are answers to this COVID mess, and hopefully we're treating it better. Well, we're definitely treating it better, and the vaccines and the boosters. Hopefully we'll see the light soon.
Well, listen, one thing that I think, you know, unfortunately has become controversial to say, and I won't put words in Dr. Fernandez's mouth, but you know, the pandemic is obviously much more severe if somebody's in generally poor health. Okay. Right. So how do we improve our general health? And, you know, that's why I was so curious about his comments about being plant-based and changing your diet. If you're able to become healthier, then you are in a much better situation with regards to COVID and everything else, heart disease, cancer, whatever you want to, whatever takes human life, you're in better condition. You're in better shape if you're in better overall condition, right?
Well, they did say that from the beginning, Ray. Doctors said that from the beginning. Right. From the beginning, if, you know, the comorbidities, if you're obese, if you have diabetes, this and that. And, you know, so they were onto something, knowing that if you were compromised some way, that, you know, COVID, coronavirus, whatever you want to call it, can get to you, you know, much.
We stop talking about that, and we start talking and fighting about other things, whether or not you want to take the vaccine or whether or not you want to wear a mask. And, you know, I think we may have lost a little bit of sight about some of the broader issues. But again, you know, who else would you want to hear from when it comes to heart disease than the guy who actually operates on heart disease every single day? I mean, that's why I thought it was so important that we have him on tonight, Mike, because he's right there on the front lines. And to be honest with you, I don't know how he does it. I mean, he's running at 4 o'clock in the morning, 4:30. He's saving lives. He's doing our show. I don't know how he does it.
Writing books.
Writing books. God, I feel so inadequate right now. I have no
I
idea.
know. I just want to curl up under my blanket and go to bed, Ray.
Just grabbing me to drink. I swear to God, honestly.
No,
But,
it is amazing. It is amazing, and I can't wait to read the book. I'm gonna order it actually tonight.
yeah, what a great guy. I'm really honored to have, it was great to have him on. And how you doing? I haven't got a chance to speak to you tonight. How you doing? How's everything?
I'm good, and we talked about maybe 8 minutes before the show. You were running a little bit late, and how's your trip? How's your trip going?
I'm in an undisclosed location, but the trip is going all right. And I'm in the hills of Pennsylvania, and the trip is going all right. And I was looking at my watch, having at this thing, and I'm like, oh God, I'm trying to push people to finish up, and I just thanks for holding down the fort, and everything's going all right.
Good. I'm glad. I'm glad. And first Long Island of the week. That's special too. So I hope he is very proud of that honor. Probably goes right up there with all the schools he went to, and Harvard and
Princeton. I mean,
yeah, maybe we can make a certificate. So maybe he'll frame that, put that in his
office.
office.
Come on, the guy was just,
He, you know what he is, right? He's Mariano Rivera. He's the one you give the ball to, in the top of the ninth when you need the 3 outs.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely right. Is Jen joining us tonight, or is she?
Yes, she's actually in our green room waiting. She's enjoying the complimentary snacks and
I didn't see Jen. I didn't see Jen. Okay.
No, because you came on the other way. You didn't.
Oh.
But let's bring her in, because let's see what she has to say about the doctor and his advice. Hello, Jennifer.
Hello. How are you?
How are you?
I'm good. What a wonderful guest Dr. Fernandez was. Wow. I'm still amazed at the challenge he set forth on 4 hours, every 4 hours, running 4 miles. Oh my goodness.
I try to do the marathon half marathon every year. And that's tough. But I remember watching this, and because of the timing of it, Jen and Mike, it was really painful. I was so happy to see him do it, but it was like, 12 o'clock at night, I'm sitting on the sofa, and I'm like, all right, he's doing this run, and I'm going back to watching TV. I watch it, and then I watch TV, play with the computer. It's 4 o'clock in the morning. He's now running again, and I haven't gotten up off the sofa one time in 4 hours.
I can eat maybe eight devil dogs in 4 hours. 4 devil dogs in 4 hours. Maybe that sounds right.
It was just, and then you think to yourself, it's all a bad dream, and I could do that also. But guess what? It's 8 o'clock in the morning, and he's at it again.
Superman.
How you doing?
Superman. But wonderful guest. He had some really good insight on nutrition and how it just affects everything. So I thought he was really a great guest.
Yeah, and a couple other things that he spoke about, Ray, before you came on. I'm not sure if we were on the air yet or right before we came on, about how exercise, breathing, and nutrition, just make your body better. But breathing, especially, that's so important. Breathing, just taking a step back and getting the deep breaths in and getting oxygen in your body. It just makes you feel better. Mm-hmm. That's another thing he was saying too.
So Jen, here we are, another week of COVID, another week of COVID chaos, COVID craziness, COVID confusion, right? I mean, that's really where we're at, COVID confusion. So give us an update, Jen. What do you make of the event since we last spoke last week?
Well, it seems like the numbers are trickling down a little bit in terms of COVID cases. Although I think that the numbers being reported are skewed because so many people are doing the at-home rapid tests that I don't think they're getting an accurate report of who's in fact testing positive. But so maybe we're at a turn here. And, everybody's angry with the CDC and their messaging. They're thinking about changing the guidelines yet again. I read today that they're thinking about changing the guidelines about masking and having us upgrade. So we shall see. Yeah, so I don't think a lot has changed since last week. I just think, though, that the fatigue over the pandemic just grows and grows, and it's really concerning. I'm really concerned about people's mental health at this point. I see it in my practice. My patients are really struggling. A lot of them have just finished having COVID and are now trying to bounce back. A lot of people are reporting that they're having an increase in anxiety and depression since having COVID. And those are part of the long haul COVID symptoms, mental health issues. And I did speak with various doctors this week just to get their opinions on how to help people, with the long haul COVID. It's tough stuff. It's really tough. And I'm hoping we can put it out to the audience tonight that we can maybe have an interactive discussion about mental health. And I hope the audience can feel free to either call in or to Facebook message us and send me your questions. I'm here to answer them about all things mental health, all things pandemic fatigue.
Well, Jennifer, I know you can't answer this question, but I think Ray can. Mm-hmm. Ray, a Facebook user, just said, "What did Ray just eat?"
Oh my chewing gum. I'm a chewing gum addict. So whenever you see me reach to my pocket and quickly grab something and shove it in my mouth, 9 times out of 10 it's chewing gum. And the other 1 time out of 10, it's usually chewing gum.
Okay, Jennifer, just so you see on the bottom of the screen, I put the as promised the numbers back up, the ticker. So
yes,
up to 861,336 deaths as of yesterday in this country. That's the United States. How scary is that? That's so many people, and a lot of people, like you just said before. With this round, the Omicron, it seems like more depression, more anxiety. I guess it's because more people are getting it. Is that right? Or
I think more people are getting it, but I also think that it has to do with the pandemic fatigue. People are tired of living under mandates or living under rules or being socially isolated, dealing with economic hardship, dealing with remote work, remote school. The list goes on and on. So I think a lot of the anxiety and depression comes from there. But what I do think is that the silver lining that was maybe given to us through COVID is that mental health there's more of an awareness about mental health than I can ever remember. So I think it's important that we keep talking about it and keep shining a light on it, because by doing those things, we're removing the stigmas.
Yeah, and people are scared of getting it too. It's true.
Right.
When you hear some neighborhoods are at 40%, positive, they're just like, it's coming to get me. I guess there. But I think the anxiety, I see anxiety from people that have it and actually got over it, but yet they fall into a depression. That I don't understand, because I would think that, okay, you had it. Your body fought it off. Now you're gonna thrive and you're gonna be okay. But I guess not. From a mental thought of it, like you're I don't know what it is. Is it like a brain cloud or brain fog or don't know.
It's you know what it is, Mike. It's and then it's COVID is whatever it is for you. I mean, you know, to make it so stupid, but like I've never worried about getting COVID. I've never worried about having it. We've discussed it before.
Yeah.
I've been sort of cavalier about it and maybe stupid about it in some regards. You know, I haven't stopped living my life. I haven't stopped going out, stuff like that, whatever. But at the same token, I'm deathly afraid of my parents getting COVID or my children getting COVID. And so on the one hand, I'm acting a certain way and I've been acting a certain way, but I'm acting very differently when it comes to people who I love, you know, and that's the tough part because you can see the hypocrisy in people. You can see the hypocrisy in me. And it's very, very confusing. And I don't think our authorities are doing us many favors. I mean, you've got, you know, Dr. Fauci and you've got the CDC who've done a generally good job in the beginning, but now maybe, you know, we want to hear other voices. And then you've got politicians who are just punting the football. You know, you've got guys like Bruce Blakeman in Nassau County. We talked about him last week. You know, I don't know where he stands on the issue, but all I know is that he's acting in a way where he's defying the governor where he's not allowed to. He knows better. So, you know, I'm not sure that we're getting the right leadership from anybody at this point when it comes to COVID.
I think with Bruce Blakeman, I think he was just throwing his voters a bone by putting forth that executive order that didn't make sense.
Yep.
So
and he knows it, and he knows it. He knows it, Jen. He knows that he can't supersede the governor. He knows that. You know, I mean, I always make fun of his whatever, but he knows.
It's government 101. He has to know that executive order wasn't going to do anything.
Right. That's just playing to his base and, you know, trying to, you know,
I just came back from a place where there's a restaurant and you know, they make you wear the mask on the way in because they don't want to get the fine. And the second, you know, we've talked about this before, the second you sit down, take the mask off and, you know, the gray area is if you have to get up and go to the bathroom, do you put the mask back on or do you not put the mask back on? Well, you're already in the restaurant. So, you know, anybody who says, you know, mask all the time, we could point at the hypocrisy because they're not doing it themselves. And the people who say that masks don't work and none of the science makes a difference anyway. Yeah, but then some of those same people are dying from COVID. So I'm just somebody who says, listen, I really don't know. I really don't know. And I'm just trying to hope and cross my fingers and try to do whatever I think makes sense. But I really don't have the answers. I think a lot of people feel the same way.
Yeah. And the confusion over at the CDC. Yesterday, they had the testifying at Capitol Hill, I guess it was, with senators. What a mess that was. And I'm listening to it. I'm listening to it at work, saying after all said and done. So you have Rand Paul yelling at Fauci. You have Collins yelling at Fauci. All said and done, nothing comes of it. Nothing ever happens. You know, they don't answer the questions, or they answer it. They don't like the questions. It's just heated and it's just ugly, and it's just a waste of time. And I think they changed today, wasn't it? Didn't they change the they're not going to be doing the contact tracing anymore? Or
New York, because I know in New York they stopped it because it is just too much at this point. So
yes. So everyone, we will put the number up on the screen. So call in now. You could be psychoanalyzed by me, Ray, and Jennifer.
No.
No.
You know what I hate, Mike and Jen? What I hate, honestly, are people who use COVID. I hate when people use COVID. I have a little axe to grind this week, so maybe I'm getting a little personal, but I hate people who use COVID as the excuse for why they can't do something that is not because of COVID, and everyone knows it, but that becomes the convenient excuse. You know,
like for what, Ray? For example,
well, you're gonna get me in trouble, Mike, because I'm probably gonna tell you what's on my mind, but I probably shouldn't.
we have a caller. Hello. Hello.
Please tell me.
Well,
Please tell me what's on your mind.
If if you're supposed to do something for your family.
Wait. Who's on the phone here?
Oh, hey guys, it's Valerie Heffron.
Hey Valerie, how are you?
So
Hey,
Val,
I'm great. I was, yeah.
so what can we what could we analyze for you tonight, Valerie?
Okay. So I was calling in response to the mental health stuff, and I just thought I had like a relatively decent tip. But first, if I could really quick about Bruce Lakeman, I just want to point out that he absolutely knows that he was out of his jurisdiction and has no authority, because when he was councilman in the town of Hempstead, we tried to approach the township to pass the anti-puppy mill bill on a hyper-local level. And he went out of his way to act like he was in support of it, and then he wasn't. But he basically told us that this was a state issue and that the township did not have the authority or the jurisdiction to be able to pass such a law. So he knows he is just pandering to his base.
Yep.
So because of things like this, I always have a lot of noise and frustration going on in my head, especially when you're trying to affect positive change with your legislators, right? They can drive you insane. So one of the things that I did was I got a book. It's really cool. It basically is 365 days of, and you don't have to do it consecutively or anything. It's just kind of like journaling, and it challenges you. So I stumbled on a question that said, like, think of your happiest time in your life. And what did that entail? So, you write a couple of things like, I used to go to the beach all the time. I used to play volleyball, whatever it is. And for me, I realized I used to be a total bookworm. I used to read all the time. And that just kind of helps you escape. It shuts the noise down. It gives you other things to get involved with, and if it's a good book, you can really get lost in it. So I don't have all the answers, but I just think that question, like if you ask yourself, like, what were the happiest times during your life and what did it look like? Like, I don't care if you used to dance on a bar, go dance on a bar again. You know what I mean? Like,
Ray does
read
that.
books, go for a bike ride. Yeah, I knew it. I just think that sometimes we have to get back to basics, and hopefully they're good, healthy things that used to, like maybe somebody used to go to the gym all the time, or maybe somebody just used to cook more, whatever it is that brings you real joy and simple pleasures. Let's get back to that.
I love that. I love it.
Yeah, because it's
Thank
being
you.
being 2 years, people probably forgot what they really like to do, because we're so conditioned
Yeah,
now.
I couldn't remember. Yeah, I couldn't remember why I stopped reading. I used to read like 2 books, 3 books a month. And I always had like a couple going at the same time. Like one was maybe self-help or business related. And then the other one was like a novel.
Yeah. Well,
That's a good tip.
you,
I like that. I like that
I
tip.
think that's great. I think
Thanks,
that
Valerie.
is so great.
So I'll
Thank
share
you.
with you.
Love you.
Thank you.
That's a thing.
Thanks, Valerie. Have a good night.
I'll share with you what I was saying, Mike and Jen, before. But what annoys me about COVID is when people use it as an excuse. So when someone's supposed to do something and they know they're supposed to do it, and they use COVID as an excuse. So, for example,
Yeah, I was just going to say, Ray, I want an example, but go ahead. You read my mind.
if you're supposed to call somebody to check on them, whoever that may be, let's say it's me, let's say it's my parents, let's say it's whatever, and you don't make that phone call, don't blame COVID. You didn't get busy with COVID. Okay, that's not a thing. All right, you didn't make the phone call because
I get busy with COVID.
right. No, that's the
You're busy with COVID. What are you doing with COVID exactly?
That's my question is.
Right. No, but
because now the excuse is, well, with COVID, I just couldn't call. Wait a minute. There's a phone right here. Right here. Okay. Your fingers still work. Okay. You can still make the phone call if you take the initiative. So why don't you just say, I didn't make the phone call because I chose not to, because I had better things to do. Don't blame COVID.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from, Ray, because I always hated the excuse that I'm too busy to fill in the blank, whatever you want to do. I'm too busy to do this. But now, if I've never heard that because of COVID. I've heard of things like, because of COVID, I don't want to, come over to your house, or I don't want to go to dinner with you guys.
Right. I mean, we're all going to use COVID to some extent, but the fact is that there's some level of ridiculousness, and this is targeted to a specific person, so he knows who I'm talking about, and whatever. But listen, it's better I tell you this way than I tell you on the phone, because you're not going to like what I tell you on the phone. So you might as well let me air it out. You did not call because you got busy with COVID. That's not what happened.
Yeah. Getting busy with COVID. That's going to be a new segment we got to do on here.
Not busy. Okay. What? Anyway. What else, Mike? It's been a good show, I guess, and more to come. Jen, we're breaking down these shows into like 30-minute segments going forward. We're gonna do more of these shows, so maybe we'll do like a 30-minute segment just on this, and we'll kind of figure something out where we break up.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah, we're gonna be we have an Instagram now, believe it or not. I still don't know how to use it. I got in trouble actually, Ray, because I started following the wrong people. I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing with that, but we have that. We're broadcasting now to our new YouTube channel. What else do we have? A website, Ray, right?
Yeah. We do have a website. We're going to set it up. It's called The Long Island Show. The Long Island Show is going to have our biographies. Is it Long Island? It's just Long Island Show, not the Long Island Show. Yeah.
So many great things.
I'm rushing because you know why, Mike? Because of my power situation. But
unbelievable. Yeah. All right.
Well, I know what I'm getting for my birthday this year from Mike.
I'm getting you bricks. No, those little power things, whatever they are.
Let me say goodbye before my thing cuts out. But you guys keep going. Jen, good seeing you.
You too, Ray.
Partner, I'll talk to you in a bit.
All right, Ray. Take care.
Keep going. Yeah. I'll tune in afterwards.
We're up to an hour pretty much, but I'll talk to you. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Okay, I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
So long. Yeah. So Jen, that was a good. Let me remove Ray here now. There he goes. That was a good tip to get back to the things that you like to do.
I think that was an awesome tip. And I think your insight was good too, that I think a lot of us may have forgotten what brings us joy, and that we need to really soul search again and figure it out and get back to it.
Right. Because some people could use it as a second chance of life, to do things that, maybe they wanted to do before, that were maybe afraid to do, but now maybe venture out and do the things that they want to do. So hopefully people could turn it into a positive, but that's a terrible word, but really make the best of, a bad situation and go out and do.
It's a coping skill.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, all right, Jen, we lost Ray. We're up to an hour. And like you said, we're going to be cutting these down to like maybe about a half an hour segments. We're going to maybe do 2 or 3 a week. And we're going to try to figure out the YouTube and Instagram thing. I'm terrible at that. I could put a show on the screen, but after that, I don't know really what I'm doing. I roll the wrong buttons. My wife yells at me. I follow the wrong people. And then, it's ugly. Yeah. Thanks again, Jen, for joining us, and thanks again to Doc and Ray. It was a great show. Next week we have a great show. We have we're going to talk New York City crime. We have some great guests we're going to have on. One confirmed already, and hopefully we're going to have another couple confirmed. But it's going to be another great show. That's next Thursday at 8. Great. So for everyone that has a calendar, that still uses a calendar on your phone or however you do it, but we'll post a banner. So that's all I got, Jen. Anything that you have, or?
No, I just want to say good night to everybody. I wish you all good mental health. And if anybody is struggling out there, please reach out to me. If I can't help you directly, I will link you to who can help you. I'm here. Okay? I'm here.
And thanks, everybody. And we'll see you next week. And just keep watching out for our banners and some crazy announcements I'm sure we'll have. But until then, we'll see you. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
We just got a message from, it's just a Microsoft message. No big deal. Good night again. Bye, Jen.
Bye.
sick and tired of smart guys.
Come on, man.